bridge your knowledge to success.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Aditya Talks. And today we have Mr. Rohit Prakash on our show. And he's going to share his journey, his experience, and all his learnings that he's accumulated throughout his vast career. And it's going to be a very interesting discussion today. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Aditya. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So it's my pleasure as well. It's an honor. I'm going to have a very good discussion today. And for the benefit of our viewers, can you tell us about yourself, your journey, and how you came to this spot that you're on in your life?
So I was pretty much born and brought up in Delhi, did my schooling from here, and then did my engineering from Jamia Millia Islamia again in New Delhi. Immediately after my engineering, I did my master's in business administration from Management Development Institute, Gurgaon. And while I was doing my MBA, I also got a chance to spend a semester in Vienna.
Hmm.
So to get dual degree both from MDI as well as from Vienna. But immediately after moving out of MDI, I joined Marico, which is an FMCG company. I worked in marketing for some time, and then I worked largely in sales, selling Parachute hair oil and Saffola cooking oil. And while I was at Marico, I had this natural inclination, so to say, towards two things. One was environment, and the other was education. So I was thinking, can I do something which can combine both? So incidentally, my father was running a business in environment instrumentation, doing providing monitoring services on air, soil, and water. So without much thought into what the future would look like or what what kind of uncertainty will I face, I just left my job one day and took that leap of faith, came back to Delhi, looked at what my father was doing, and then started a company called iDream, which was supposed to provide educational climate change educational services to schools more in the form of training to the children and students and the teachers.
Yes.
It over a period of from 2009 onwards to 2014, it kind of grew into a climate change consulting and training company, wherein we used to even go to the schools and tell them what is your carbon footprint, what is your energy audit like, what is your waste audit like, and then based on those audits, we used to advise schools on how they can become more eco-friendly campuses. Around 2014, it so happened that I got a chance to work in some government school. So at that time we were working for Microsoft, and we were implementing one of their programs in the schools, programs around sustainability. And they
Yes.
only said that, while you have worked a lot in the private school, why don't you go and work in the government schools? And that was like a very game changing moment, a life changing moment for me, because till that time I had worked with the best of private schools. I was not even aware that this is how our government schools look like, or this is how they go, how a government school function like.
Hmm.
So it was a very shocking experience for me, and I remember I came back with a lot of questions in my head that why is it like this, right? With when we hear so much about the spending which is happening in the government schools, but the situation is very very different.
Very dire. Yes. I
So
also agree. The education system in India, especially on the grassroots level, is very basic, and I think it does not provide the opportunities to the children to achieve and experience the things that they could do in the future, and it does not provide much exposure. And I think that is one of the problems that India has to solve in the future, as education is one of the reasons why we are lacking on a global scale. And so I agree.
true, 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 very true. So I also had this kind of understanding based on whatever we saw. Coincidentally, Puneet, who is now my partner, also had left Oracle, and we were both batchmates in our business school. He joined Oracle, then he left it after 2 years, and he was parallelly working on his own company, setting up English labs, math labs, science labs in private schools. And it was quite a coincidence that around 2014, even he got a chance to go and work in the government school, and he saw a similar set of challenges. Because we were both batchmates, we just got talking, and we realized that both of us have a shared love towards the last mile learning ecosystem,
Yes.
and we thought we should do something here. So it still took us about 1.5, 2 years of more research or more brainstorming on what we could do. But finally, in 2016, we decided that we will stop what we were doing earlier, and we will come together to start iDream Education. So that's how iDream Education came into being.
Mm. So I also heard before this interview, while I was looking into your background, that you have another startup, iPrep. So can you tell us about it and how it came into fruition, and what was your thought process and what was the process that went into it, coming into what it is right now?
So iPrep is not another startup. iPrep is the name of a product within iDream Education.
Okay.
Right? So iPrep is a bilingual learning platform that works both offline and online, and it works on all kinds of hardware devices and all kinds of operating systems. And the best part about iPrep is that it brings together multiple categories of digital content on a single platform. So students have an option to learn by watching videos, they can learn by practicing, they can learn by taking tests, they can learn by reading books, they can do activities, they can run simulations, right? And now iPrep also has an adaptive learning version which measures the current learning level of a child, and according to that level, iPrep personalized adaptive learning uh, kind of a personalized adaptive learning tool creates a personalized path for every child.
Yes. So basically, it creates a personal path for children to experience all the things that is necessary and builds up on the weakness a student has and what for what is required for a certain exam. So I think that is really interesting. So uh, the current field of edtech is very varied. There are many investments and very varied growth areas. But can you tell us, like, what will be the future of edtech and what trends do you see, which which will shape its future? Current trends that will shape its future.
One area where I very strongly believe in is emergence of hybrid learning systems, which means that if you look at pre-COVID, it was mostly about at home, at school learning, right? Children depend on what the teachers are teaching them in the school, and then when they go back again, either they will study on their own or they will go to tuition centers, right? And tuition centers also are mostly one to many learning format. So, what COVID has shown to us, and what I believe will now start happening, is a hybrid learning ecosystem wherein, yes, you go to a school, you learn in a one to many learning format, but when you come back home, you have a personal device of your own, and you can get to experience personalized learning on the same thing which you're learning in the school. So that's one trend which I very strongly believe in, will definitely come. It has already started coming in, and I see that this will grow much more. This is the reason why various edtech companies which only focused on at-home learning are currently struggling, because what they were providing at home did not sink in what the child was doing in the school. Right? So when it comes to edtech companies, I believe a lot of companies will start building solutions aligned with what the child is studying in the school. Right. So that's one thing. Second,
Hmm.
we all know AI is gaining a lot of prominence. So I do see AI playing a role in education as well, specifically with regards to doubt solving or being available to a child as a personal tutor whenever the child wants to. Right. So that's something which will definitely come up. Third thing which I feel is coming up is also especially relevant for a country like India is emergence of local language learning. Right? So when it came to digital, if you go back 10 years, it was all about English medium learning. But now, also with the government of India's focus, they have been very vocal about it. We are continuing to see emergence of various solution providers which are working specifically in local languages,
Hmm.
and AI is helping to fast track that also. So if you have content in English, it has become very easy now to create a similar content in Telugu, Tamil, Gujarati, or other regional languages. So that's another trend which I foresee will start coming up, and therefore there's a good possibility that smaller companies which are operating out of these states will also start becoming popular, and they will gain a lot of popularity in the coming days.
So I think the seamless integration that is available with technology that allows the tutor or the app and the student's current path, it integrates seamlessly and it works coherently. But when on a large scale, when big companies come and integrate tutors into online tutors to children that are studying, it does not match up with the school and it feels like a different curriculum alongside the school. And I think that is really interesting. And I think your view is great. But what do you think are the biggest flaws as of now in the current edtech space and the Indian education system as a whole? On a country level, what can we do to increase, like, better our education system, and not for a private school standard, for a government school standard? So that's it.
So, if I look at our generation, we have literally grown up on the model of rote learning, right? Very less of it was application-based learning, and even today, in majority of schools across the country, the focus is still on rote learning and not so much about how those concepts can be applied in the real world. So that I believe is one of the challenges in the current education ecosystem. Right? The second big challenge which I see in the education system is an inability of our system to personalize the delivery of education for every child. Right. So in a classroom, for example, a teacher comes. The teacher will take a session for 30 minutes. Right. Go back. Students are expected to come back next day and perhaps solve some uh, do some
Homework.
homework, right? But uh, and then this process continues, right? And then at the end of the semester, at the end of the term, every student is given the same exam. So if Aditya scores 95 in mathematics and if Rohit scores 80 in mathematics, both of us will proceed to the next section, next grade, right? So if you are in class 6, we'll move to class 7th. But nobody has really understood that I had a learning gap of 20 marks and Aditya too had a learning gap of 5 marks, but nobody is really helping us to cover that up. And the situation is more serious in government schools, right? In private sector, in urban centers where you and I reside, we still have the support system of our parents or our tuition teacher who may work with us to fill that gap. But in government school, this is a huge challenge. So when I move from grade 6 to grade 7th, scoring 80 marks, I carry that learning gap with me. And when I take the exam in class 7th, I may score only 60 or 65 marks. So the learning gap increases, right? And as I move up, this learning gap continues to increase till I reach class 10, where my teachers and my parents tell us, तुम तो बुद्धू हो, तुम्हें आता नहीं है, you are not hardworking, you should work hard and all of that. But nobody is realizing that the learning gap that I picked up over the years, no one has really helped me to cover that up. So because
I
of which, a lot
mm,
of dropouts start happening. Right. So
mm,
this again is a big challenge. Third challenge is connected to what I said in the first thing, that because real life application is not happening, so there is not much focus on skills that you require to counter the 21st century challenges. So these are the three main challenges which I see in the current education ecosystem, and these are also the opportunities for us as well as tech solution providers. That if we can fill that gap, and we can help prepare children better for the next century, that has to be our goal really, right?
yes. And another forefront I think the education system lacks on is the lack of creativity and encouragement of extracurricular activities. So I think that is one thing that India as a whole, and currently the Olympics is going on. And see, the India has been participating since the 1900s in the Olympics, and it has won 26 or 27 medals. And China, which has started participating from 1984, has a total medal count of 264. So I think there is a fundamental gap uh, where India has very less support on extracurricular activity, both from the parents as well as the school side. And I think that is something that definitely can be worked upon, because growth as a holistic, the holistic growth consists of academic and as well passion, or something that a child loves to do in their free time. So uh, moving on.
Actually, I
Yes.
believe that this trend is changing now. And during our generation, we had very limited career options, and there was a lot of focus in our families for academics. But if I look at our generation as a parent and the next generation of kids which are coming, if I look at my kids and if I also look at kids in my circle of friends, we see that a lot of yes, we still want our kids to do well academically, but we have become very open for them to participate in various sports, various extracurricular activities like music. Like most of my friends today are doing either chess classes. Most of my friends' children are doing chess classes, playing sports like badminton, cricket, football at a very very early age.
Mhm.
Right. So this trend may change in the next generation. Also, if you look at it, if you look at now, even the government's efforts towards infrastructure, towards praising our athletes and sports stars and musicians have become a lot more prominent than what it was earlier. So today, if Virat Kohli is a hero, Neeraj Chopra is also equally a big hero in our country, and that goes on to show that this trend will definitely change. But we are slow,
Yes.
but with this generation, we'll see a change.
I agree. There is a positive. The graph is growing in a positive direction, but there is still a very big room of improvement, because comparing to our neighbors, we have similar population, similar talent, and I agree. India maybe has more talent because there are many more people, and I think it has room of improvement. And India's government has recently started to try, and it's showing, because we have had a great showing in this Olympics, and I think it's going to be a bright future for the young, the youth. So, um, teacher, how do you manage balance of like running a company? You've been running a company for such a long time and growing personally. How do you manage your time, and what do you think others can learn in order to manage their time efficiently as well?
So to answer your first part of the question, Aditya, I don't think it is disconnected. Growing a company and growing myself uh, are is like the same journey for me, right? And the fact, the way the company has grown, the way we have worked towards the country, towards the company, I myself have grown a lot along with the company, right? And the way I have evolved over a period of years, over a period of time, I believe that the company has also evolved in a similar way, right? So there was a time when I was very anxious, and I used to be a very instinctive decision maker, and that used to reflect in the way my company used to operate as well, right? But I think more than the company's journey, it has been a personal journey, and which has made me a very different person from when I had started the company, right? So for me, it's not disconnected at all, and therefore I do not look at it at two different things, and hence I don't get worried or entangled into managing time at work, or managing my personal growth, right? it's
Mhm.
it's the same thing for me, and I believe because of that, the ride has been smooth, and I don't carry that kind of pressure or worry inside me that I work on myself, and whenever I make a change in myself, it's just by natural that the change happens in the company as well, right?
Yes. So this is really interesting, because the process which you do as a career, like the process which you follow while making and growing a company, is a process that you love, and that's why you don't feel any pressure and you grow alongside your company. All your experience which you have accumulated is now a part of you, and it has made you a person which is drastically different from the uh, past 10 years. So I think that's good. And so now what do you think is the future of iPrep and iDream as a whole, and what do you envision for the future of these of this company?
Well, my ideal future is my ideal vision is to build consciousness in the next generation. And the reason I'm saying that is because, just to give you an example, uh, and I had read about this example in one of the articles written by a person whom I follow a lot. He said that 10 years ago the cost of a drone was very high, right?
Yes.
So for a normal person to access that drone was very difficult. Okay, but now the cost of a drone has gone down drastically, and anyone can easily have access to a drone, right? But what that person chooses to do with the drone, that's where the challenge lies. A drone can be used to carry out a relief service. A drone can also be used to drop a bomb on someone, right? So what he says is that the rate at which the technology is becoming affordable, the human consciousness has to grow at double the rate, because only then, a very highly evolved individual, when he or she will have access to such technology, he will know what not to do with it and what to do with it,
Mm,
right? My ideal goal with iPrep is to provide such a learning platform, such a skill based growth platform that not only provides the next generation with content around academic learning, content around skills, but it also helps in the evolution of consciousness inside the next generation. And that's truly my long-term vision with regards to what we are doing at iDream Education with the help of iPrep as our product, right? So because I believe, and when I look at my children, I carry the same feeling that if we can evolve consciousness in our next generation, we can give our next generation a world which is happier, more cleaner, more sustainable, and more joyful, right? So that's really the vision that I carry, and I hope to make it possible with the work that we are doing.
mm. So one thing just cropped up in my mind. I wanted to ask you, um, what do you think is the ultimate purpose of education, and uh, how do you think education as a whole throughout the world should evolve to meet the needs of the future generation or the future youth?
So one thing, as I covered in the challenge as well, one thing that I envision education to do is to uh, let children understand how do we apply what we are learning to solve real world problems, right? So problems with every generation keeps changing. What our parents faced is very different from what we are facing, and will be very different from what you and our kids will face, right? So it's very important that the time that we are spending in schools, college, or during education is training us to be able to apply the information and knowledge that we are gathering through the course of our education uh, to help us solve the real world problem. It needs, education needs to give us those skills through which we can analyze and solve the real world problems. So that has to be really the goal of education, and not to teach you Newton's third law of motion or Pythagoras theorem. It has to be how do you apply them to solve the problem that you're going to encounter in your times.
Mm,
That's one. Second goal of education, which I just shared with you in our vision as well,
mm,
the vision is to build that sense of consciousness in our next generation, so that our decision making is more considerate. The decision making is more towards showing kindness, empathy to people around us. Right. So that, I think these are the two goals of education which I would really want to come forward.
Hmm. I also think the ultimate purpose of education should be the completing a completing of a human being and his ideals and his dreams. So something that allows him to succeed in his goals and allows him and gives him the pathway to succeed in life as well as live a fulfilling life. I think that should be the main purpose of education. So I think that's good.
Correct.
um
That's why I was joyful when I said the other purpose of education, right?
yeah. And if you could give one piece of advice to the youth of India today, what would you give them, especially for the young people who are trying to make a difference in the world like you?
My advice is that at any given point in time, in any situation that you are in, you should always look within. That's my advice. You should always look inside yourself and try to figure out what you could have done better or better to come out of this, to come out of any situation. So when we are in a tough situation, it is very easy to pass on the blame to somebody else, or to blame the situation, but we don't look uh, inside us, we don't look within ourselves.
Hmm.
So I believe, for growth, for happiness in life, this is one of the most fundamentally important things, that at all points in time you need to look within yourself. The only thing in control of yourself are your hard work, your words, your emotions, right? Nothing else is in your control at all. The other person who are around you, what life situation they are going through, what are they going to say, what are they going to feel, absolutely nothing is in your control. The only thing in your control is you yourself. So your words, your emotions, your actions, that's it. So therefore I always say that uh, any situation in life, you want to grow in your life, you have to look within yourself. So if people can start believing in this advice, I believe we'll have a much happier world to live in.
Hmm. So I think that's beautiful, and I think this is a advice every youth should remember and cherish. So um, if you could tell, you've done so much in your life, uh, you have sacrificed your job for your dream and have done a lot to inspire young people and have done a lot of philanthropic activities and helped help fight against global warming as well and informing children. So who are your role models, from whom you have been inspired the most, and why?
Oh, so one of my role model definitely is my father, because I saw him leave his job when he already had two kids, and he wanted to pursue his own dreams, his own goals, and he started his company. And how we struggled as a family, but how he worked so hard to give us a future that we all are living in today, right? So very grateful to him with all the hard work that he did, and what he taught us, right? uh, Equally, I equally cherish, or I equally look up to my mother as well, who also worked extremely hard with him, and gave us the future that we are all living today. So definitely one of my role model is my father and my mother. There are people from business world that I look up to. There are people from cricketing world that I look up to. I'm a huge fan of Shah Rukh Khan, so definitely he is one of my role models, and I really admire the passion he brings to his work, the amount of hard work that he does, the kind of intensity he brings to his profession, and how he grew up from nothing to what he is today. So I definitely really admire him. But yeah, I mean, other people have also inspired me a lot. So Steve Jobs was at one point in time very inspiring for me. I was recently reading an autobiography on Elon Musk, hugely inspired by him as well. So I won't say that I have a one particular role model as such. Different people have inspired me at different moments in time, and in different situations, I take inspiration from different people. Even my partner Puneet has been an inspiration for me on many occasions, and I have learned a lot from him as well. So yeah.
Mm. So I think that's good because my inspiration is also my father, and I think fathers and mothers and parents are one of the fundamental reasons why people can push hard in their lives because they always stay in the back of their mind and always provide their guidance and blessings. So moving on, can you tell us about your favorite books which you believe everybody should read?
Uh, okay. So if I look at, I love two autobiographies written by Walter Isaacson. There was one on Steve Jobs,
Yes.
and I read
I
both.
also have it. I'm currently reading it only. I started
Yeah,
it 4 days ago, and it's a great book.
it's a great book. And Walter Isaacson has also written a book on Einstein as well as
Elon
Elon
Musk.
Musk. Both of them are, all three of them are really, really wonderful books. Then there's a book, I don't remember the author's name, but Hard Things About Hard Things. So I think if somebody is starting a business or running a business, it is a must read book. I have picked up a lot from that book, right? Then there are a couple of other books. There's a book called Work Rules, which is a story of Google. There's a book called Working Backward, which is a story of Amazon. Uh, and there are some autobiography which have inspired me a lot. There is one of Akio Morita of who started Sony. His autobiography is extremely exciting and encouraging. So I mostly read autobiographies and such stuff, and these are some of the books that I just named that have they have really inspired me. Yeah.
Um, so I also agree. The biographies by Walter Isaacson are a very solid read, and I have Elon Musk's book here right now with me, and it's a very good book. I am not sure if you can see it, but it's a good book, and I still not gotten to read it because it's a a very big read, and I don't have the time as of yet. But it's still on my books to read list. So, lastly, please advise two people that you would like to see and learn from on the show, and these people should be the people that you know.
So one person is my partner Puneet. Uh, he's definitely someone you can speak to and you would learn a lot. I know many people from the social sector. Uh, One person I know whose work also very deeply inspires me is a person called Menak Roy. He's the founder of Simple Education Foundation. Uh, I keep following his work. I have met him a couple of times. I think he's very deep in his work, and I really admire the way he has gone about building the organization. So yeah, I mean these two people are definitely the ones that you can speak with, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot.
Hmm. So lastly, I hope you enjoyed this show, and please advise two unique things that you have liked about Aditya Talks and any suggestions which should be incorporated to improve the experience of the show.
Uh, One thing which I liked really well was the level of detailing involved in the question that you had sent me.
Mhm.
Right. So the moment I looked at the questions, I realized that someone would have really studied about what I'm doing, would have gone through our websites perhaps, to because those questions were really deep, and you don't get to experience such questions. So I would definitely say, there is a you will find a lot of success if you do deep work, right? So definitely continue to do that. I really admire that about you and your channel, that the conversations are not superficial. You're asking deep questions, and and the guests on your show are able to respond to that. And but that is really a value add for anybody who will be listening to those conversations, right? So my only advice would be that stay true to the purpose with which you had started Aditya Talks, and continue to work very deeply. Never operate at a superficial level.
Mm. Thank you, sir, for your advice, and it was a very great discussion. I enjoyed having you here, and I learned a lot. I hope my viewers you also enjoyed this discussion. So thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you, Aditya. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.